History remembers triumphs, crowns, and conquests, but it's the mysteries that haunt us. Across time, entire legions vanish, tombs of great kings remain hidden, and fleets disappear into thin air. These are not myths or legends, but real events lost in the shadows of the past. In this documentary, we journey deep into 5 of the most baffling historical enigmas ever recorded, unsolved puzzles that continue to defy logic, reason, and the passage of time. The disappearance of the 9th Roman Legion. In the early 2nd century AD, the Roman Empire was at the height of its power. It stretched from the sands of Africa to the misty highlands of Britannia. Among the empire's many military units, the Legio IX Hispana, the 9th Legion, had built a reputation for toughness, discipline, and valor. They fought across Europe for over a century and a half, from Spain to Germania. But then, something inexplicable happened. They vanished. The last official record of the 9th Legion is found in York, then Eboracum, northern Britannia, around 120 AD. After that, they disappear from history. No Roman document, inscription, or administrative note mentions them again. For a Roman legion, typically composed of 5,000 to 6,000 men, to vanish without trace was unheard of. It was not just an anomaly. It was a historical enigma. Theories about their fate have circulated for centuries. One of the most prevalent is that the 9th met a grisly end in the wild, rebellious north of Britannia, what we know today as Scotland. The Roman governor Agricola had attempted to subdue the Caledonian tribes, but it had been a brutal, uncertain campaign. Some historians believe the 9th Legion may have marched north to suppress a rebellion and were ambushed in the fog-shrouded highlands. According to this theory, the Caledonians annihilated the legion and buried their remains, if not under rock, then under time. But there's a problem with that theory. Excavations in Scotland have never uncovered clear evidence of a battle large enough to swallow an entire legion. No mass graves, no twisted bronze fittings, no rusted sword hilts. The silence of the earth speaks as loudly as any scroll. Some suggest that the lack of remains is due to the acidic soil, which could have dissolved bones and wooden equipment over centuries. Still, it feels incomplete. Others point toward administrative oversight. Could it be the 9th was simply reassigned, perhaps to the Rhine frontier or even the Parthian East, and was later destroyed in another theater of war? A few inscriptions unearthed in the Netherlands suggest that at least part of the 9th might have been stationed there after their time in Britain. Yet, there's no solid proof the full legion remained intact, or that these fragments weren't just veterans resettled with other units. Another theory suggests political motives. Could the disappearance of the 9th have been covered up by the Roman government? Losing an entire legion in Britain would have been an embarrassment to the empire, particularly to Emperor Hadrian, who soon after ordered the construction of Hadrian's Wall, a massive stone boundary slicing across northern England. Some scholars speculate the wall wasn't just to keep the Caledonians out, but to keep Rome's shame buried. If this theory holds, the 9th's destruction would have sent a shockwave through the Roman administration, prompting an unprecedented defense project. Hadrian may have wished to contain the chaos, sealing off the northern frontier while quietly sweeping the loss of a legion under the bureaucratic rug. That silence in Roman records, then, might not be accidental. It could be engineered. A more speculative group of thinkers go further. They question whether the 9th ever perished in battle at all. Perhaps the legion mutinied or broke ranks and joined local populations, disappearing into the mists not as ghosts, but as rebels or settlers. Though this might sound like the stuff of legend, Roman history is not without precedent for legions that rebelled, turned mercenary, or even declared their own emperors. Modern archaeology continues to hunt for answers. In the ruins of Roman forts across Britain, scholars search for signs of sudden abandonment or violent destruction. But often, the clues are frustratingly inconclusive. A half-charred cooking pot, a broken pilum tip, a decayed post hole, none of it screams final battle. None of it explains the silence in Rome's meticulously kept records. Popular culture hasn't ignored the mystery. Rosemary Sutcliffe's novel The Eagle of the 9th imagines a young officer seeking to recover the legion's lost standard, a symbol of its honor. The 2011 film The Eagle takes similar liberties. These dramatizations give voice to a yearning that many historians and amateurs share, to fill the silence with narrative, to impose sense on a senseless gap. What is clear is this: for a Roman legion to vanish from the record is rare, almost impossible. Rome loved its numbers, its orders, its rosters. The disappearance of the ninth was not just a military loss, but an administrative one. A crack in the system. And in that crack, the seeds of legend took root. Could the legion's bones still lie beneath a remote Scottish hill? Could their shattered shields rest in a peat bog yet unexcavated? Or did they die far from Britannia, their memory erased not by time but by political will? We may never know. And yet, each new excavation in northern Britain, each faded inscription chipped from old stone, might bring us closer to an answer, or deepen the mystery forever. The vanished city of Dvarka. Off the coast of India's western state of Gujarat, where the Arabian Sea meets the land in rolling waves, lies a city that has been spoken of for thousands of years, Dvarka, the legendary kingdom of Lord Krishna. The tales of this city shimmer with mythology, glory, and divinity. But for centuries, many believed it was nothing more than a tale spun in the ancient Hindu epics. That changed in 2001, when the sea whispered its secrets back. The Mahabharata, India's great epic poem, describes Dvarka as a magnificent city built by divine architects under the guidance of Krishna himself. It was said to have towering walls, golden streets, and ports where ships from distant lands docked with treasures. According to the texts, the city was eventually swallowed by the sea after Krishna's departure from the world, a punishment for the sins of mankind. For many, this tale was simply allegory. But in the early 21st century, science caught up with legend. During a routine survey of the seabed by the National Institute of Ocean Technology, NIOT, sonar scans revealed something stunning: structures under the Gulf of Khumbat that appeared man-made. Massive rectangular formations, straight lines suggestive of roads, symmetrical blocks arranged in grids. When divers were sent down, they recovered pottery shards, fossilized bones, and tools made of stone and metal. Some carbon dating suggested these remains could be over 9,000 years old, far older than the oldest known Indian civilization, the Indus Valley cities of Harappa and Mohenjo-Daro. This discovery, if verified, would not only push back the timeline of Indian urbanization but also give stunning credibility to the Mahabharata's narrative. The idea that a real Dvarka, ancient, advanced, and lost to the ocean, might have existed set historians and archaeologists abuzz. Still, the excitement brought with it skepticism. Many experts questioned the dating methods, the interpretations of sonar imagery, and the conclusions being drawn. Could natural rock formations be mistaken for streets and temples? Could the artifacts found have drifted there from elsewhere, misleading researchers into seeing a city where there was none? Drive S.R. Rao, a pioneering Indian archaeologist and a strong advocate for the city's existence, was convinced. Before the Gulf of Khumbat findings, he had led excavations at another site further west, modern-day Dvarka on the coast. There, he uncovered the remains of stone structures, wharves, and anchors beneath the sea, dating back to at least 1500 BC. These finds matched descriptions of Krishna's capital as a bustling port city. However, the underwater ruins in the Gulf, if confirmed, would predate those by thousands of years. If true, this would change the story of human civilization. A city so ancient, so advanced, that it rewrote the origin of urban life in the Indian subcontinent. Such a possibility makes Dvarka one of history's most tantalizing mysteries. But the sea is a jealous keeper of its secrets. Strong currents, low visibility, and sediment shifts make deep-water archaeology difficult. Many of the sonar images are grainy and inconclusive, and the ruins lie buried under thick layers of silt. Divers cannot remain at those depths for long. Political interests further complicate matters. Some wish to promote the site for religious tourism, while others call for more rigorous, independent study before any bold claims are made. Yet the legend persists. The Mahabharata gives vivid accounts of the city's grandeur: walls inlaid with precious gems, gardens with rare flowers, palaces that glowed in the moonlight. The texts describe how Krishna, sensing the end of his time on earth, asked the sea to reclaim the city. As his people abandoned Dvarka, waves rose and swallowed it whole. That part, strangely, is not unique in world mythology. The idea of a lost city, drowned in divine retribution, echoes through many cultures. Atlantis in Plato's writings, Yonaguni near Japan, and the lost lands of Lemuria and Mu. It seems humanity has a deep memory, or deep fear, of great cities being consumed by the sea. Whether Dvarka is myth, metaphor, or reality, its story continues to evolve. For the people of India, especially devout Hindus, it is more than history, it is sacred geography. Pilgrims flock to modern Dvarka to pray by the water, offering flowers and incense where they believe Krishna once walked. Fishermen speak of unusual stone formations they've seen beneath the waves, and tales pass from father to son of ancient structures pulled up in nets. In the academic world, the debate continues. Some scholars call for full-scale underwater excavations, while others urge caution against mixing faith with science. The Indian government has promised more studies, more exploration, but progress is slow. Nature does not give up its artifacts easily, especially when they lie beneath turbulent seas. Perhaps what makes Dvarka so captivating is this blend of possibility. The city straddles the line between myth and reality, between faith and geology, between past and future. If true, it would prove that human civilization arose far earlier than currently accepted. If false, it remains one of the most powerful cultural myths ever told. As the tides continue to roll in and out over the Gulf of Kumbat, they whisper ancient songs of a city now lost to time. A city of gods, drowned by destiny. And whether its stones lie beneath the sea or only in the imagination of poets, Dvarka endures, as mystery, as hope, as history waiting to be found. The mystery of Flight 19 and the Bermuda Triangle. On December 5, 1945, a routine U.S. Navy training mission took off from Fort Lauderdale, Florida. It was a clear day, with calm seas and experienced pilots aboard. Designated Flight 19, the 5 TBM Avenger torpedo bombers carried 14 airmen, all of them well-versed in navigation and combat flying. What happened next became one of the most baffling aviation mysteries of all time. Flight 19's mission was standard, a 3-leg over-water navigation exercise stretching over the Atlantic. The pilots were to fly east toward the Bahamas, turn north, then head southwest back to base. But less than 2 hours into the flight, something went terribly wrong. The squadron's leader, Lieutenant Charles Taylor, radioed in, sounding confused. "We can't find west. Everything is wrong. Strange. We can't be sure of any direction." Flight instructors and control tower operators at Fort Lauderdale picked up the radio chatter. Taylor believed his compass was malfunctioning, and soon, the rest of the formation followed his lead. Despite clear skies, the pilots reported visibility issues and disorientation. They were drifting farther off course, possibly over the open Atlantic, dangerously low on fuel. The base attempted to triangulate their position and steer them back. But the squadron's location kept changing. At one point, Taylor insisted they were flying over the Florida Keys, though radar indicated they were hundreds of miles northeast. The transmissions grew erratic. Pilots began debating their location over the radio, their confidence slipping. Taylor's last recorded message, "All planes close up tight. We'll have to ditch unless landfall. When the first plane drops below 10 gallons, we all go down together." Radio silence followed. The Navy scrambled a Martin PBM Mariner flying boat to locate the squadron. It carried a 13-man crew and launched into the night. Within 20 minutes of takeoff, the rescue plane also vanished. Civilians on a nearby tanker ship later reported seeing a mid-air explosion and flames in the sky around the area the Mariner would have been flying. No wreckage from either Flight 19 or the rescue plane was ever recovered. The loss of 27 men and 6 aircraft sparked one of the largest sea-air search operations in American history. The Navy scoured over 250,000 square miles of ocean. They found nothing, no life rafts, no debris, no bodies. The official investigation was baffled. The final report blamed causes or reasons unknown. Even Taylor's faulty compass could not fully explain the miscommunication and the collective disorientation of the group. This incident might have faded into history as a tragic anomaly, were it not for the pattern it seemed to reflect. The region encompassing Flight 19's disappearance formed part of what would soon be known as the Bermuda Triangle, a swath of ocean bordered roughly by Miami, Bermuda, and Puerto Rico. In the decades to follow, this triangle became infamous as a graveyard for ships and planes, earning nicknames like the Devil's Triangle and the Limbo of the Lost. Researchers compiled other incidents: the USS Cyclops, which disappeared in 1918 with 309 men aboard, and the Star Tiger and Star Ariel, two commercial aircraft that vanished in 1948 and 1949 respectively, with no distress calls and no wreckage found. Reports emerged of sudden instrument failures, unexplained fogs, violent seas under calm skies, and strange electromagnetic interference. Some scientists and skeptics argue that the Bermuda Triangle's dangers are exaggerated, pointing to its heavy maritime and air traffic. They claim the number of disappearances is not statistically abnormal. Natural explanations like rogue waves, methane hydrate eruptions, and powerful underwater currents are often cited. Still, the Flight 19 case resists simple answers. All 5 aircraft would have had redundant navigation systems. The pilots, though trainees, were not novices. And the weather, while it worsened later in the day, was initially benign. Why did they all trust Taylor's incorrect assessment of their location? Why did none break formation to seek land independently, as protocol allowed? Even more puzzling is the disappearance of the PBM Mariner. These aircraft were notoriously flammable due to gasoline vapors in their hulls, but their vanishing in such proximity to Flight 19, and the total lack of debris, amplifies the mystery. Over time, legends grew. Some claimed time warps or magnetic anomalies swallowed the planes. Others theorized alien abduction or secret government experiments. Hollywood and conspiracy theorists fueled these stories, embedding Flight 19 into popular imagination. Despite the speculation, more grounded researchers have tried to recreate the flight path using simulation and weather data from the day. Some suggest Taylor, new to the Florida area, mistook the Bahamas for the Keys and directed the squadron northeast into the open ocean. With fuel running low and visibility degrading, the group likely ditched their aircraft, which quickly sank into the deep Atlantic, never to be found. But this raises a final question. Why, even today, with advanced sonar and satellite scanning, has no trace of the aircraft ever been found? Perhaps the Atlantic has simply buried its secrets too well. Or perhaps Flight 19's final minutes were so scattered, so chaotic, that the wreckage lies in fragments across hundreds of miles of seabed. In the end, the story of Flight 19 endures, not only because of the tragedy or the mystery, but because it captures a primal human fear: being lost, powerless, and forgotten in a vast, indifferent sea. The Lost Tomb of Alexander the Great. When Alexander the Great died in 323 BCE, at the age of 32, the known world stood still. Conqueror of Persia, founder of cities, and son of Zeus, according to some, Alexander had forged an empire stretching from Greece to the Indus River. Yet, more than 2,000 years later, the final resting place of one of history's most extraordinary figures remains unknown. It is a mystery that has confounded historians, archaeologists, and adventurers alike. Where is the tomb of Alexander the Great? Contemporary accounts suggest that after Alexander died in Babylon, his body was placed in a gold sarcophagus filled with honey, a traditional preservative. His generals quarreled over succession, and the body itself became a prize. One account says that Ptolemy, one of Alexander's trusted commanders, hijacked the funeral procession and brought the body to Egypt, where he would eventually establish the Ptolemaic dynasty. Initially, Alexander was buried in Memphis, the ancient capital of Egypt. But soon after, the tomb was moved to Alexandria, the new city he had founded. There, it was entombed in what became known as the Soma, a mausoleum at the heart of the city. For centuries, the tomb was a place of pilgrimage. Roman emperors such as Julius Caesar, Augustus, and Caracalla visited the tomb. Augustus reportedly placed a golden crown upon the corpse. Caligula is said to have stolen Alexander's breastplate. For many years, the tomb stood as a symbol of imperial power, divinity, and conquest. And then, silence. By the 4th or 5th century CE, references to the tomb vanish. Alexandria had suffered invasions, earthquakes, and tsunamis. The once glorious Soma disappeared, perhaps swallowed by disaster, buried beneath centuries of construction, or deliberately hidden. Modern Alexandria is a labyrinth of ancient layers and chaotic urban development. Excavating beneath the city is almost impossible. Despite this, several archaeologists have tried. Some believe the tomb lies beneath the Nabi Daniel Mosque, a site considered sacred. Others suggest it could be under the catacombs of Qam el-Shokafa or lost in the ruins of ancient palaces near the seafront. In the 19th and 20th centuries, expeditions launched to find the tomb yielded tantalizing clues but no definitive answers. In 1850, an engineer claimed to have found a large granite structure beneath the city, possibly part of the Soma. In 1995, Greek archaeologist Liana Suvaltsi claimed to have found the tomb in the Siwa oasis, where Alexander had once visited the Oracle of Ammonius. But the Egyptian government and most scholars rejected her findings as unproven. In 2020, new interest flared after archaeologist Calliope Limnios Papacosta unearthed marble statues and foundations that may point to the ancient royal quarter of Alexandria. Could the tomb lie nearby? Her work continues beneath a modern sports club, where every meter of excavation is a battle against groundwater and bureaucracy. One theory suggests the tomb may never have been in Alexandria at all. Some ancient writers mention the body being taken elsewhere, perhaps even remaining in Babylon or being hidden intentionally to prevent desecration. But these are minority views. The majority consensus holds that Alexander was indeed buried in Alexandria, and that the tomb is still there, somewhere, buried under the silt of history and the sprawl of modern life. The implications of finding the tomb are staggering. Beyond the historical significance, there is deep symbolic power in Alexander's legacy. His name endures in hundreds of cities and countless legends. His military tactics are still studied. His blend of cultures, Greek, Persian, Egyptian, was centuries ahead of its time. To find his tomb would not only confirm ancient texts but might even reveal treasures, art, or documents lost for millennia. But this is also a search burdened by myth. Over centuries, Alexander's image was transformed: warrior, god-king, philosopher, prophet. For some, finding his tomb could be a validation of divine favor or ancient prophecy. This has led to conspiracy theories, political entanglements, and intense secrecy around certain excavations. The search for Alexander's tomb is not just archaeology, it's geopolitics, religion, and national pride. Despite the complications, the tomb of Alexander remains one of archaeology's greatest prizes. Some believe it will never be found, that the earth has swallowed it forever. Others hold out hope that one day, perhaps by accident or persistence, the sands will part. For now, the tomb remains a symbol of the transient nature of power. Even the greatest conqueror in history, who dreamed of uniting the world under one banner, cannot escape the pull of time and forgetting. His empire fragmented within years of his death. His name endures, yet his body has vanished. But the mystery endures. Perhaps beneath the cracked streets of Alexandria, beneath the fish markets and mosques, Alexander still rests, waiting. The disappearance of the 9th Roman Legion. The Roman Empire at its height was a force few dared challenge. Its legions, disciplined and heavily armored, marched across Europe, the Middle East, and North Africa, leaving behind roads, laws, and ruins that endure to this day. Among these elite units was the Legio IX Hispana, the 9th Spanish Legion, a unit that fought bravely under Julius Caesar and was instrumental in the conquest of Britain. Yet, by the 2nd century CE, this formidable legion vanished from all records. No one knows for certain what became of them, and their disappearance remains one of Rome's most enduring mysteries. The last clearly documented sighting of the 9th Legion places them in Britain around 108 CE, during the rule of Emperor Trajan. Archaeological evidence, tiles stamped with the legion's name, inscriptions, and references in Roman documents, suggests the 9th was stationed at Eboracum, modern-day York. Their presence in Britain was part of Rome's ongoing efforts to suppress resistance from the native tribes, particularly the fierce and unyielding Caledonians of what is now Scotland. Then, silence. The Legio IX Hispana disappears from all official Roman records. Unlike other legions, which were carefully documented for their movements and achievements, the 9th fades without explanation. Later lists of Rome's active legions, such as those compiled in the 3rd century, omit them entirely. It is as if they were erased from the empire itself. Several theories have emerged over the centuries to explain their fate. The most dramatic, and widely romanticized, is that the 9th Legion was annihilated in battle in Scotland. According to this theory, they marched north, perhaps to quell an uprising or assert dominance beyond Hadrian's Wall, and were ambushed by the native tribes. Outnumbered and trapped in hostile terrain, the legion may have been wiped out, with few or no survivors. Such a defeat would have been catastrophic, not only in military terms but in prestige. Some suggest the empire may have deliberately erased the record of the disaster to avoid embarrassment. This theory gained enormous popularity in the 20th century, especially after the publication of The Eagle of the Ninth, a 1954 historical novel by Rosemary Sutcliffe. The story, and later film adaptations, depicted a young Roman officer venturing into the north to reclaim his father's lost eagle standard, the symbol of a legion's honor. It captured the imagination of millions and cemented the idea of the 9th Legion's heroic end in the mists of Scotland. However, some historians dispute this version. They argue that evidence points to the 9th surviving beyond 108 CE. A few inscriptions have been found in Nijmegen, in the Netherlands, that suggest the legion, or at least parts of it, were active there sometime around 120 CE. Could the 9th have been reassigned to the continent after its service in Britain? If so, why was it never mentioned again? Another theory posits that the 9th Legion was not destroyed in battle, but rather disbanded, perhaps due to rebellion, disgrace, or political intrigue. Legions that mutinied or failed in loyalty to the emperor were sometimes quietly dissolved. Could the 9th have taken part in an insurrection, only to be scrubbed from Rome's proud history? Still others suggest that the legion may have been broken up and absorbed into other units, their legacy dispersed and forgotten. Records from the Roman Empire are extensive, but not complete, especially for units posted to distant provinces or lost in chaotic transitions between emperors. Adding to the mystery are the archaeological inconsistencies. In York, remnants of the 9th are clear up to the early 2nd century, but then vanish. No mass graves, no battle artifacts, no signs of a military catastrophe have been found in Scotland or elsewhere. If they were destroyed, where are the bones? Where are the broken weapons? Some researchers propose that the disappearance is not so much a mystery as a bureaucratic anomaly. They suggest that the 9th may have changed its name, merged with another legion, or was moved somewhere poorly documented. But even this doesn't explain the complete absence of their standard, one of the most sacred symbols in Roman military life. When a legion was disbanded or renamed, the eagle was typically recorded or preserved. The 9th's eagle has never been found. Recent excavations continue to offer fragments, stamped tiles, incomplete inscriptions, but nothing definitive. Every piece adds to the story but stops short of solving it. The mists of Roman Britain, the ruins of Hadrian's Wall, and the ancient forests of Scotland still whisper of marching feet and battle cries, but the fate of the 9th remains buried. The disappearance of the 9th Legion reminds us how even the mightiest empires can leave mysteries behind. It is a ghost story in bronze and stone, one that speaks of imperial pride, military honor, and perhaps the quiet, unspoken shame of defeat. In the end, perhaps their fate is precisely what keeps their story alive. While other legions are remembered by their victories, the 9th endures in silence, their final march lost to time, but never to imagination.